In the next few voice notes, I would like to relate some of the answers that the Rebbe wrote concerning the Yeshiva Gedola to Dan Holle, or mainly to the Talmidim HaShluchim who were sent. These were the first years that the Yeshiva opened, so there were quite a few answers. I want to mention some of them. First, when we were just working on establishing the Yeshiva, before the Yeshiva opened, this was when I was still in New York. This is Tovshin Lamed Gimel, summer of Tovshin Lamed Gimel. There was a Hatzor that came from some Balabatim in Miami, that there were 10 boys that learned in a school, in a religious school, but a day school, a regular modern Jewish day school, and they finished high school. And they were planning to go to university, but they wanted to learn a half a day in yeshiva. So someone said it's a good opportunity that we should take these bochim. We're just opening the yeshiva, so we'll have shluchim, and we'll take these boys, and a half a day they'll learn in yeshiva. So we didn't know if we should do it or not. So we wrote to the Rebbe, and this is what the Rebbe answered. Al pi zeh la yuchlu lishleach klal talmidim mimeis deseinu mikan kiposhut. If you're going to do this, then we will not be able to send any talmidim from our institutions, our meisdes here. Kiposhut. In other words, the Rebbe said you can't do that. In other words, you can't start the yeshiva or have the yeshiva that should be a half a day yeshiva. That means that the yeshiva will have bochrim who will learn a half a day in college. That's not what the yeshiva is for. So the Rebbe said not to do this, because this is not what the yeshiva is. So much so that the Rebbe felt that if you're going to do it, we won't even be able to send any bochrim, any shluchim. So obviously, we did not do that. Then another thing, when the bochrim came, right in the beginning, it was in the beginning when the Rebbe started Miftzah Mezuzah. And the bochrim started working on it. And they were pretty successful. They went out because the Rebbe started the Miftzah, and they were bochrim who just started being shluchim. And then they wrote a duch to the Rebbe. And they wrote that the meshech of a certain amount of time, not so long, they managed to put up 40 mezuzahs. Houses that didn't have mezuzahs before. When the Rebbe got this duch, this is what the Rebbe wrote. He circled the word arboim mezuzahs, and he wrote, Be'ir sheyesh bo lamayla marboim elef Yehudim, in a city that has more than 40,000 Yidden, so you put up 40 mezuzahs. In other words, the Rebbe was not satisfied. We think we're satisfied, we do something. By the Rebbe, he wasn't satisfied with 40 mezuzahs, even though to put up mezuzah and people who don't have mezuzah, it's a hard job, and they felt that they were successful. But the Rebbe wrote, Be'ir sheyesh bo lamayla marboim elef Yehudim, a city that has more than 40,000 Yidden. Then, later on, when it came before Yud Aleph Nisan, there was a Fabrengen that the Bochrim had together with other people from Anash who were living in Miami at that time. And there was a hachlote to give the Rebbe a present for Yud Aleph Nisan that everybody will chazer a Peirik Tanya Balpeh. So they wrote this to the Rebbe, and they wrote that Shabbos Chanik, Shabbos Nevorach Mutevez, when there was a Fabrengen in the Yeshiva, we were accepted the hachlote bli neder that everyone should chazer a Peirik Echot Tanya. Besides whatever they know on their own from before, they should extra Peirik Tanya till Yud Shvat. And the answer of the Rebbe was like this. He circled the word Peirik Echot, that you're going to learn one Peirik Tanya Balpeh, and he wrote, L'cho'ure harei zeh oshir shehevi korban oni chulu. This is like a rich man who brings a korban from a poor man, etc. There is a din b'negei korbanos. There are certain korbanos that there are levels. If you're rich, you could bring an animal. If you're poor, you could bring birds. If you're very poor, certain called Eil v'yered, you could bring even flour, a korban mincha. But the din is that oshe shehevi korban oni lo yotzo. If a rich man brings the korban of a poor man, he's not yotze. So the Rebbe wrote here that accepting to learn one Peirik Tanya Balpeh is like a osher, a person who could afford more, and he's only bringing a korban oni. And the Rebbe was not satisfied. Like the Rebbe always, whatever you think you wanted, the Rebbe was always wanted even more. And he said to learn one Peirik Tanya.